In October 1962, I was sent to Karamursel Air Station, Turkey, and I was there until March of 1964. These photos are of the area around base and of the small towns of Karamursel and of Yalova. The scenery was fairly Spartan, but it was really nice in some regards. Base was located on the Marmara Sea, and so was the small town of Karamursel, as was the small city of Yalova. That picture right there is Karamursel, the town of Karamursel. You can see the beaches were nothing special. This road between Base and Yalova is very old, and it's said that St. Paul once walked along it. It was very common back in the early 60s to see people walking with their horses or donkeys, men working with their horses and wagons. Turkey was very poor at the time. I remember taking the picture of that house right there. I remember it as looking very affluent for the area. And there was a chai house. That was a gate to one of the Turkish homes. There were a lot of those wagons. One thing about the Turks, they knew how to work hard. There was a water buffalo. I remember that boy, after I took his picture, he wanted me to give him a couple of cigarettes. He couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 years old. Yalova was about 17 miles west of Base, and of course, the one day I decided to take photographs, it was pouring rain, but it was worth it. It gives you a good idea of how sloppy it would get. I can remember going in to Yalova and seeing these tall wire bins, I guess you would say, filled with ekmek, and the Turkish women lifting their barefoot children up and dropping them inside and having them root around to get the largest loaf of ekmek they could find. And then when they got out, we would grab a loaf, grab a jug of wine, and get on the ferry and go into Istanbul, not thinking anything about it. I did like that ekmek. I wonder how many of these buildings survived the massive earthquake a few years ago. It did get very sloppy there when it rained, and you can see there were no sidewalks, so you had to walk in the mud puddles. That's where the taxis waited for when the ferries came in from Istanbul. We could jump into a cab and go out to Base. I assume that any of you watching this can remember the chayjis on board the ferries. Trying to think how much it was. I think it was like 50 kurush for chai.